Good day, guys. Welcome for one more Facebook Live from Aussizz. Today, we are again welcomed by the Torrens University's marketing manager. We have Lyndon. Last time due to technical issues, we could not save that video and we could not post it. So apologies for that. But as promised, Lyndon is back with us today. Lyndon, welcome once again.
Thank you very much. Good to be back in a more hopefully more permanent manner.
Yes. Today again, as discussed and as published, we'll discuss about Torrens University's courses, everything. But before that, how are you doing, Lyndon? How's work?
Very well, very well. Obviously under the circumstances, much like our students, I'm doing all my work from home, but doing very well. Thank you.
Excellent, perfect. So let's start with the Torrens. Little bit information about Torrens University. I know we will come back to semester 2 because that is approaching little bit quickly than what we expected. So we'll go to that. But can you please tell us about Torrens University in general?
Of course, yes. So for those of you who maybe not familiar with Torrens University, so we're Australia's newest university. We're also Australia's fastest growing university. So we started for international students 5 years ago, based out of Adelaide. So we started back then with one international student enrolled with us. He was willing to sort of put his trust in us and come on board and invest in his future with us. Which was great. And now, since that time, we grew from 1, and we now have 11,000 international students at Torrens University, which is great. And it really speaks to the quality of the courses. So originally we're based out of Adelaide, and now we've since expanded. We have campuses in Melbourne, Sydney, and Brisbane as well, and also our media design school, which is one of our design faculty members is based out of New Zealand as well. So we do have we do have a lot of really good flexibility, and the great thing about being a national university like that is the flexibility of students being able to study their preferred courses in their preferred locations. So for that can be for new and incoming students, or it can be for current students who wish to, for whatever reason, change to another campus. So that's sort of where we are. We have sort of
I know you have a million courses, so
we have a million courses. I won't go into listing them all. Of course, if you want more specific information about courses, by all means go to our website, which is torrens.edu.au. Or even better would be to speak to the Aussizz team, and their counsellors I work very closely with, and can give you all the up-to-date information on that. But just in broad brushstrokes, we have undergraduate, postgraduate courses. We have in business, health, design, hospitality, education, and we also have English courses.
So what is left out then?
What's left out? Well, I mean, what else is there? I mean, what else do you need to know exactly? But also on top of that, of course, I mean, we also have research, and we do have vet level courses that students tend to undertake as a pathway into doing bachelor degrees as well. Or they can do them as standalone for that matter, but typically they undertake their diploma to come into our bachelor courses.
Excellent. Okay. So I believe mid-July would be the second semester, which is starting up.
Correct.
What are the courses which you guys are offering right now for the second semester?
Okay, so without getting in to bog down into the detail of it, so our July intake is, it's called a B intake, it's T2B. So what it is, it's a smaller intake, which is designed for students who need a more flexible arrangement in terms of their commencement date. But it's only a 6-week study period rather than the full 12. So this is, really good for any students who, for whatever reason, weren't able to make it to Australia, or for various reasons needed to commence a little bit later. And so for that reason, because it's only a 6-week study period, we only have, there are some limited, it's not limited, I mean, there are selected courses based on the most popular ones. So the majority of courses will be able to be undertaken. So any of the postgrad or undergraduate business courses, postgrad health, some hospitality courses and that sort of thing, they will all be available to undertake. So even though it's limited in terms of it is a slight compression.
Yes.
It's there to be able to provide students with a shorter intake option, so where they can come in, undertake a few units with us, and then they have a break, and then they start on the regular study pattern, which is in September. So just a quick background in case people aren't familiar. Typically, unlike a traditional university, at least, when I studied my bachelor years ago, it was 2 semesters where you would do 4 subjects in each for a full-time study load of 8 subjects.
Yeah.
It's still a full-time study load is still 8 subjects, but we have trimesters. So you do 8 subjects over 3 shorter study periods. So what that means is that although the academic year itself is slightly longer, not a huge amount, you still get a big summer break and everything. The academic year is slightly longer, but what it means is the workload is actually reduced, and it makes, especially for students undertaking master's level qualifications, but it doesn't really matter any level, it's still university education. It just means that the workload itself is a lot more manageable. We find that, especially for international students who might not have studied, overseas before, then, it sort of does help them to succeed in their studies.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, of course, thank you for, giving all that information. Now, the next important question which I have for you is the students who either deferred because they could not come on time from overseas from February or the last intake, or the ones which are already overseas right now and kind of applying for the visas for your July intake. Of course, due to COVID-19, we've talked enough about COVID-19. Let's not go in there.
I agree.
But we all know that what the situation is, where there are not international flights coming in, going out, that sort of stuff. So how they can, those guys who are especially overseas, how can they start their course?
Yep, that's a really good question. So basically there's 2 real situations that a student offshore wanting to study with us would fall in. So there are students who are wanting to study with us and would be seeking to start their study while they're offshore. I'm assuming that in the context of this conversation that they would be starting offshore, because if they're waiting to come onshore, it kind of wouldn't really matter.
Shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, it shouldn't be an issue. But if they're wanting to come to us and they're eventually wanting to come apply for their visa and come and study with us in Australia, then we have the vast majority of our courses are available online to commence study as essentially as a face-to-face student, in terms of, because our campuses are currently delivering all of our courses online anyway, you're essentially getting the same education as you would be getting in Australia anyway. So,
and those if they, suppose for an example, they are studying 4 courses, those courses will be recognized once they come on shore, right?
Absolutely. They'll be counted towards their course. They're not going to waste their time or money on units that wouldn't count. They're part of the program, and essentially it will continue with their enrollment if they came on shore. So that's the first one, and I'll talk a little bit about online study as well. But the second situation that an offshore student might find themselves in, wanting to study with us, is someone who, for various reasons, wishes to study with us but is not planning on coming to Australia, although that can still be an option. In that case, of course, we have a large range of options that are purely online delivery. They're not the same face-to-face subjects that you'd be doing as are considered to be face-to-face student, even though you're offshore. So in that case, if you're just wishing to complete a degree with us, we have a large range of courses they can do. And not only that, there is an offshore online scholarship as well for students wishing to do business degrees. We have a 30% scholarship.
That's what I wanted to ask you about the price.
Yeah. So for those students who are, in their home country and just would like to, for family commitments or various reasons, wish to do a degree but can't travel to Australia when the borders do open up, then that's an option too. And it is I did my master's online with Torrens University, and I can say I thoroughly enjoyed it and got a lot out of it. But the last thing I would say about the online study as well is that throughout this period where everyone's had to sort of scramble to transition online, what I would say is that Torrens University was extremely well set up to deliver online education at a very, very, very effective and immersive way.
Yes.
We come from Laureate International, which is a global group of universities, and we, they started as an online university. So we have that expertise and we have that background, and we were recently voted in the top 20 online MBAs in the world.
Excellent.
So not just in Australia, this is top 20 MBA online MBA globally. So it really speaks to the quality of that. So all those students have had to move online in Australia. They really haven't lost out on the quality of the education they're receiving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just take a scenario that, suppose, for an example, I'm in XYZ country. I basically start my MBA. We'll take MBA because you just mentioned MBA.
Sure. Yep.
We of course, 4 subjects which they need to start, which they are starting in July. There are 16 total units in MBA, I believe.
Correct.
So of course, if they come, say, whenever the borders open, say either December, January, whenever, then they take out, basically start from whatever the remaining subjects are, right?
Exactly. So it's essentially just a continuing enrollment, because essentially they would be doing their schooling, and they have their continual enrollment, and their enrollment would be considered to be, on campus, even though they're, yeah. So what happens is that they would just come and they'd arrive, and at the commencement of that next study period, when they become onshore, they just come on and they continue on with the subjects to go. So there would be no loss to their time or efforts, of course.
So friends, this is very important thing. Few of the students have already asked us in the past that will it be considered towards my study? Will it be considered as I'm doing my courses? Yes, of course, as Lyndon said, or for any university for that matter, if you're studying from overseas, it will be counted towards. So for an example, there are 16 units in a course, and if you already finish 4 online, that means only 12 remaining, which you need to finish when you come onshore. So don't worry about that. Thanks, Lyndon, for that. Of course, the next question would be, as we talked about, I'm sure you must have had so many students who kind of contacted you for, say, counseling sessions or for any trouble what they were facing in their life. So what was the feedback like? Of course, COVID started sort of in Australia in around mid to 3rd week of March, and since then pretty much everything was kind of locked down. We were getting in better situation, but now we pretty much forced back, which is, of course, we all are aware of it. But what sort of student services feedback you guys received? How was it?
Look, things, at least for our current students, I'd say, I mean, there's a couple of different, I guess there's a couple of different components to that. The first thing is obviously the interruption to study was the main thing that we needed to avoid. And as I mentioned before, is, because we had no interruptions to students to transition to our classes. I mean, the courses were already online, so it was more transitioning the classes themselves online. Because there was no real interruption there, it was a really, it was really important that our students weren't affected by our delivery of the courses. And the feedback from our students has been really that, that was very seamless, and it seemed like, I mean, the term kept coming up, business as usual, which was, it's one of those no problems is, no news is good news sort of thing. So as long as our students were able to continue with their studies, no interruption, there was no negative impact on them being able to learn the materials, submit their assignments, then, of course, that's the best thing that we could hope for. The other part of that really, I guess, is around, students' well-being and those kinds of things. And so, being that our T2, our June intake has already started, and we've sort of transitioned into that. I know that we had a large range of support services on campus that provided a large range of support to our students. So whether that was around, any sort of mental health issues or anything like that, we have counselors and those sorts of things that were able to help those students. All those students that had different various, financial issues or anything like that, were all dealt with sort of internally, and everyone was able to continue to study, which was ultimately, as an education provider, the student experience is the most important part of what we do. So so it was huge range, and it was very, very good to see. Very good.
Excellent. Okay, so of course we talked about the hardship a little bit earlier. The students who are kind of starting, there are two considerations at this point of time. The students who are already onshore, they studied with you guys for say first half of this year with you, they're going into second year, and then of course there are new students which will be joining in. So how you guys are supporting them when it comes to, you know, paying fees, financial hardship?
So do you mean for new and incoming students?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
So basically for those ones for new students who are already onshore, so not our current students, for new students coming onshore, what I would probably really recommend is that you come down and speak to the Aussizz team themselves. Because for me to sit here and sort of reel off
Of course.
scholarships and stuff might be a little bit long-winded,
Yes.
but what I'd say is that we do have a broad range of scholarships that new and incoming students can avail. You know, as a university, our degrees are all extremely, we believe, value for money proposition, and to come and study with us to get a university education at the price point that our university is able to deliver it, on top of the fact that we're on track to give away over $30 million in scholarships this year.
Okay.
So if we consider all those, I think we're well placed to be able to provide an affordable but value for money proposition to any new and incoming students. But like I said, what I'd recommend to anybody that's watching right now and who's interested to come to study at Torrens, which I hope you do, I'd recommend you get in touch with your local Aussizz branch, and they'll be able to explain fee structures, what scholarships you may be eligible for, how to apply, and all those sorts of things. I think that would be the best way to do it. And of course, I have a great working relationship with the Aussizz team, and any further questions, I'm sure they'll relay on to me.
Of course, of course. Would you like to give any message to our potential students? Potential students means the ones which are seriously thinking about starting in July, because it's not more than 2-3 weeks which are remaining.
No, July 13th is,
yes.
yeah, it's only a couple of weeks away. So yeah, it's coming up very quickly, which is, I mean, it's exciting. So I get excited every time. It's a new batch of students. Everyone gets excited. It's orientation. You know, it's great. Look, all I would say at the moment is if you're onshore and if you're in a position where you feel like you want to come and study with us, if something we've said today has sort of piqued your interest, or something you've heard, or you've got some friends that come and study with us, then if you want to come be a part of what we're doing, we're a really rapidly growing university. We're starting to provide some amazing opportunities to our students. I used to work with the alumni from Torrens as well. I've worked very closely with the alumni, and so people out there, some graduates of Torrens are out there doing some amazing things. So if you want to come and be a part of that, then we'd be more than happy to welcome you on campus when we can. Being in Melbourne, I'm not sure when that's going to be, but at least at our other campuses a little sooner.
And Torrens University has got a Facebook page, right?
Yes, there's a Torrens University Facebook page where there's we have a LinkedIn page for those that use LinkedIn. Any of those can be a
Most
source
of the
of truth.
students are pretty much techno savvy, so they prefer Facebook than the website. So
yeah, fair enough. Yeah. I think yeah, that's fine. Yeah, of course, there's that. And they, it's a very responsive page as well. Otherwise, Aussizz team who can get in touch with me and we'll be able to answer any questions.
Perfect. We pretty much covered everything, Lyndon. We covered all the courses. We covered, the exciting time which is coming ahead, which is 13th of July. The new semester is starting up. Then we, of course, talked about offshore students. We talked about people who are starting new and they have some problems or hardship. Of course, scholarships are available. And you've pretty much given the information. Last time, unfortunately, we could not save the video, so we could not post it. Guys, again, apologies for that. This time, I'm sure we have taken the precautions and we'll post this video. But as we mentioned, as Lyndon has tried pretty much to give all the information, as you probably would have seen, there are n number of courses, and I'm sure it's not feasible to go in depth for each and every course. But I'm sure you guys are aware that Aussizz is one of the one of the largest migration and education consultants in Australia. We have, so if you want to study in Melbourne, doesn't mean you can't go to our Adelaide office. Of course you can. We have branches starting from Brisbane, Sydney, we have Melbourne, we have Adelaide, we have Perth. So each and every, most of the states, we have branches. Please feel free to get in touch with us. And there are some amazing scholarship which are already available. My teammates and my colleagues will definitely give information to you. 2 weeks, as we said, Lyndon, 2 weeks is there to start the next semester. So of course, if you want the offer letters, if you want, you know, to start the course, please feel free to get in touch with us. All my colleagues are, you know, definitely will look after you. Lyndon, thank you so much. If you have any, later on after we finish our today's live session, if you have any links or anything which you would like us to share, please feel free to give it to us. We are more than happy to provide to our Aussie family. And thank you so much once again. Happy Friday. I know
Friday,
we kept it at 4 o'clock. So I'm sure everybody's kind of in a, right now, those people who are starting in July, they're kind of in a position to fix up where they wish to study and that sort of stuff. So I hope that we've given enough information for them and it's a food for thought, and they'll definitely get in touch with us. So thank you so much, Lyndon, once again. And we'll surely catch up soon over a coffee.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me, and hope everyone has a great weekend.
Thank you. Thank you so much, man. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.